real big. A lot. A whole lot. You know what she did that other people didn't? She admitted to it. The situation with Natalie dying and how important it was for Mandy Singer to speak up at first, at the very beginning, about the situation with her son. You know, it took her almost 6 years to understand how important that was. What had transpired, what it was all about. It took her 6 years to actually speak up about it. It took her 6 years because she was fucked up on drugs. But you know what? She admitted it. She admitted it. She wanted to do the right thing and tried to do the right thing given her abilities. But also, she's under the same fucking government jackboot as me. Being disabled, being treated fucking homeless, even having a place. Like, she had to worry about losing her place if she helped me. Candace Bondurant had to worry about losing her place for helping me. Miss Peaches had to worry about losing her place for helping me. All of these people are recorded saying that. You guys pretend like I'm a bad person for saying these things. Oh, you can't be giving out their personal business. No, it's the truth. And it's not their personal business, it's mine as well. If you can't come forward and tell the truth because your kids are sick, yeah, that is my business. I can say, hey, it's family problems. Miss Peaches can't come in because she's got family problems. Or whoever else. And since I was there for multiple situations with these people, I can verify that their stories are true. For some of them, I can't verify that the situation actually happened from a first standpoint of view, but I have the evidence that was sent to me by these people, the screenshots that they were sent from, and it also shows, of course, these people's phone numbers or email addresses. It shows where it came from, that it did, in fact, come from these people. Evidence is very important. So is context. What Leslie Snell did and that judge, it's highly illegal, but only if someone cares. And who's going to care? Who's going to care enough to get up and do something about it? When Sean says, hey, I'm being treated like a fucking rapist and a child molester and a fucking stalker and all sorts of other creepy ass shit. I need help stopping it. Well, maybe it'd be nice if it was the help that I needed before people ended up fucking dead. Natalie should still be alive, and the bullshit that her and her fucking friends and family put both of us through before Natalie was killed, that was all stuff that would have been easily taken care of by one person saying, hey, you guys need to fucking stop. You need to fucking stop. You need to leave Sean the fuck alone. Leave him the fuck alone. Leave him alone. These people didn't find out what the fuck was going on. They didn't go say, hey, Natalie, did Sean rape you? Hey, Alicia, did Sean rape you? Because that's what Natalie's running around telling people. No, nobody bothered fucking trying. You should fucking ask. Hey, Alicia Bollinger, when did I ever have the time to do that shit with your sister? Or me and your sister ever at any point in time in Virginia alone for more than 5 minutes? Once when you went to the bathroom on my birthday for maybe 5 minutes. Once when you went to go get your purse for maybe 5 minutes. And that wasn't on my birthday. That was when we went to the pagoda on Norfolk. And whose idea was it to go to the pagoda on Norfolk? Was that me stalking, or was that me being asked to go to the pagoda in fucking Norfolk? On my birthday, did we go where Alicia Bollinger wanted to go on my birthday? Obviously we did. I didn't know Elliot's Coffee Grounds existed until that's where I was taken on my birthday, and I was grateful. The thing is, I've taken 6 years of abuse over crimes that were never committed, over things that Natalie herself even stated were untrue. Natalie herself admitted that we did not ever have a sexual relationship. We wasn't interested. Well, all right, she was, I wasn't. But that's the thing, people don't want to look at all of it. They just want to look at the little bits and pieces that they can pull out as an excuse. You go, oh yeah, sure, we committed a bunch of crimes against Sean when we thought that Sean was a killer. But now we're going to justify it by accusing him of a whole bunch of other shit. There's so many people that go, oh, well, they found her killer. That doesn't stop the abuse. The abuse started well before Natalie was ever killed. If I wasn't being abused, I never would have fucking tried to contact anybody. Well, not about that. If I wasn't being abused, I'd have been able to go back to Boulder, Colorado, hang out with my friends, talk some shit, smoke some weed. But of course, that's not the world we live in, is it? It don't matter if you serve your community. It don't matter if you bust your ass. I mean, we got people who fought in World War II that are all dying off like, well, you wouldn't believe. And they get to see the country that they fought for flush down the toilet right before they die. God, what a pleasant end, huh? You fight to free the world from Nazi oppression, and then the United States becomes a fucking shithole of Nazi oppression. And who did the Nazis go after first? Was it the Jews? No, of course it wasn't. It was the homeless and the mentally ill. And they experimented the hell out of them. And it weren't right. And now today I get to see and hear the rhetoric all over the news. It pops up on my news feed. All these different areas around me. Portland, Salem, Tacoma. All these different places where we got homeless veterans out there on the streets with us. And many of them, they can't be proud of their service like the ones in World War II. Because they were fighting for a different reason. I'm running around trying to find big enough cigarette butts to roll me a tobacco. And it's slightly chilly, so on the bright side, 2 more ashtrays, one more ashtray. Boys, I found like the ultimate winner. I don't even have to roll it into a cigarette. It's still most of a cigarette. Now it's time to walk out into the sun, warm up a little bit. I don't remember what this video is supposed to be about, and I do apologize for that. Probably have to remake it after this one. Been spending a lot of time trying to get education and how to get the hell out of here. Americans don't want us. They don't want the poor. They don't want the sick. They don't want your huddled masses. They don't even want the ones of their own. They want us to apparently march out into the sea. Tacoma is making a groundbreaking attempt. They're going to make a homeless shelter with 50 beds. This is a major city, peoples. Do you have any idea how much money they're going to spend to make 50 beds? They'll probably do what Boulder did. Boulder had a decent shelter at one point in time, and that shelter was able to house most of the homeless in Boulder County. That was back when homelessness in Boulder County measured in the hundreds, not the thousands. When they made the new shelter, it was only 122 beds. The idea behind it was supposed to be to have a homeless shelter and then have a transitional housing center for, homeless people that are basically working on transitioning into housing. It's supposed to be especially for people with kids and veterans. People who have an honest chance of getting up and out of the streets, because there is government help available for them. They just have to have a place where they can hold on and be patient. Incredibly patient. And that's what the Boulder shelter, when it was first built, that's what it was supposed to be for. Instead, with that being basically the overflow area, what they did is they shut down the main homeless shelter. I want to say it had like 340 something beds. I wasn't there at the time. I did live in Boulder for a few different stints during the period of time that the old shelter was open, but it was different. I've seen a couple of pictures of it. I guess one of them, it looked like an auditorium to me, but the picture doesn't show enough of it. It just shows a couple of homeless people that I know that look about 20 years younger, sitting on a cot over in a corner. So then it's supposed to be 122 beds for transitional housing. And some of those, the dormitory areas, there was the male's dormitory area, the female dormitory area, and then the family housing area. Cost $7 million. Portland wants to paint themselves as liberal too. So they'll probably they might try to outspend Boulder on something like that. Say, hey, we're way better than Boulder now. Look at what we're doing for the homeless. 50 beds. 50 beds. I would expect that would probably cost, we're on the coast, so we can charge a little bit more. There's some decent fertile soil, so we can charge a little bit more. It's pretty in demand, coastal area and all that. Building a homeless center there for 50 beds, they'll probably make it stretch for 12 to 14 million, I would guess. plus upkeep, which is going to be way more than it needs to be. You'll have a bunch of people who work there that really are barely not homeless themselves, but have never been homeless, so they're better than everybody that actually has to go there for services, and they act it. They'll steal your shit. Most of the abuse in homeless centers and homeless shelters does not come from other homeless people. When you're out on the streets, a lot of your abuse does come from other homeless people, or the police, or the general public. You go to a homeless center because you're less likely to get harassed by the other homeless, by the police, or by the general public. You have a place that is supposed to be safe for you to go to sleep at night, where you don't have to worry about a police officer waking you up at 3 o'clock in the morning right after you're finally able to go to sleep because the bar crowd stopped fucking with you. So many dynamics, and you guys don't even think about it. My first violin was stolen by the staff at a homeless center in Boulder, Colorado. The one with 122 beds, and most of those are for transitional housing. Plus, we got all sorts of halfway houses. You know what a halfway house is, right? Let me tell you about two very important programs here in the United States. They're for our safety. One of them is the safe houses. Safe houses were created by a lot of people here in the United States who had loved ones who were beaten to death or went missing. In many cases, domestic violence. In some cases, it was situations like the KKK. These safe houses were created so that victims of violent crimes could be safe in a place where their predator wouldn't know where they were at. Because of a situation in the 80s where somebody who ran one of those, they were called battered women shelters, but it wasn't just battered women who went there. Some of them were women only. Most of them were women only. But they were all called safe houses. And if there was a male who went through that, he was supposed to. Of course, it was the 80s. And a real man doesn't need those services, so at least that's what they sold us, and they still play that shit to this day. This is how my predators got away with it. By playing on my gender, by playing on my religion, or lack thereof. Why would I follow your religion if you do that? If you're that kind of a person, no, I'm not gonna follow your rhetoric. That crap gets people killed. No, I don't believe in the Rambo Jesus. Now, there's a lot of people who did not start off intending to be predatory. But Leslie Snell, when I called to turn in her boss, because that's who I was told to call, instead of her doing what it is that she was supposed to do, she was recorded being very rude to me and making excuses for her boss for situations she was not there for. If you were not there, what place have you saying whether or not something did or did not happen? All right, so that's the dirt. Isn't that cool looking? I've made an outline of it. There's more dirt on it, but I wanted to clean it up a bit because it was looking a little dark. Had a hippie tan and all that. Anyway, how is it not supposed to freak me out? This whole situation. How is it not supposed to freak me out when Candace Bondurant is telling me that she's being threatened to be thrown out in the cold with her kids? Of course, she would have never been stuck in that situation. There's no way in hell her mom wouldn't allow it. And Candace ain't the only one. So many people told me that they wanted to help, but they couldn't because people were threatening to kill them and their families and harassing them and their families. This does affect me. And cops want to tell me, oh, well, you should just get off the internet. No, 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 no. Claiming that I wasn't trying to get help when so many people had their lives and their families threatened just for offering to help. And police officers assisted the people who were threatening to kill me in getting away with threatening others. The very officer, Michael Beard, who committed crimes against Candace Bondurant, also committed crimes against me. Officer Waylon Lolatai, who committed crimes against me, also committed crimes against no less than 7 other individuals on camera the very same year after he assaulted me. All of these people, by not coming forward in the very beginning when it made a difference, and forcing me to record the fact that I told the truth months after the fact, forcing me to post it on YouTube to try to get help turning that evidence in, because these people obviously were too cowardly to try. These people wanted to get their words after saying these things, wanted to get their words removed from my YouTube. You have no idea how many privacy violation notifications I have. And I win them. I win these privacy notification violations. There's a reason. I back my shit up, motherfuckers. I back it up. With these people being threatened and harassed and intimidated, and me being told, oh, well, they have to turn it in. A lot of these people claim that they turned it in, or at least tried, but the cops say, of course, in court, that I'm delusional. Well, a police officer does not have the ability to make that determination, especially when it is a police officer that you, by name, have stated publicly that you are trying to turn in. 4 crimes committed by that said officer. Specifically, that officer by name, such is the case with Waylon Lolatai. And Waylon Lolatai, they wouldn't even allow me that man's name after he assaulted me. And you get to see in the videos, well, if we could get the videos from Clearview to actually play, that would be great. That's one of the sophisticated issues that I ended up with after police were able to get a hold of my evidence or get their hands on my electronics, is that all of a sudden I've got corrupted files from the public pretender's office. Imagine that. And what files are those that are corrupted? It's recordings, of course. And then you get to see on my YouTube channel how splotchy and spotty the recordings are of the situations with the Boulder Police Department when Waylon Lolatai assaulted me. Shit, it plays fine, but when I download it to YouTube, it doesn't. It's stupid. Now, there's a lot of people who have contacted me, and they want to start off at the very beginning, and I have to start off fresh at the very beginning with every one of them. All right, we'll start from ground zero. Here's a whole bunch of people who claim they were going to help me in the past. Here's what they did instead of helping me. Please don't do those things. Also, I've got recordings with all of these people that show that I'm telling the truth. I need help turning that shit in. All of my court dates, every one of them, I can get an actual court date because of the crimes that were committed against me. And of course, the way that it falls under is entering in new evidence. But the thing is, the evidence was there. Nobody would look at it because my predators claimed that I was schizophrenic. The conversations with Marcia Estrada show very loud and clear that I am not schizophrenic. She is the one person through all of this who is capable of saying, yes, Sean is or is not schizophrenic. And which direction did she go with it? She said very loud and clear that I was not. Here's the problem with the jails and the prisons. When you are taken advantage of because of your disabilities, and police officers are telling medical professionals that you are schizophrenic, and those medical professionals want to believe the people with the badges because they have badges, it becomes a very major issue. There are several of the people in there, the mental health care specialists in the prisons, who treated me like I was schizophrenic from the day I walked in there, because Scott Costa, the very sheriff I had been trying to turn in since 2018 over his involvement in covering up for his deputies, and not only the death of Natalie Bollinger, but also the threats, harassment, and intimidation which had been reported both before and after Natalie's death, and the way that the officers treated me during those situations. Those officers broke the law. Scott DaCosta helped them to get away with it. Over and over and over again. And every time when I'd try to turn those officers in, he'd play stupid and tell me I have to call all sorts of other different places that are telling me that I got to call him. It is the Nebraska State Patrol's job to investigate those crimes. The problem is, because I get called mentally ill, they won't listen. Not unless someone backs me up. Someone who has either seen the evidence or is a witness to the situations themselves. Either one will work, but you need to look, or they're not going to. They're going to say we investigated ourselves and we did nothing wrong. I can show and cite many, many references from recent day. The reason that I can cite those references and those cases is because, well, Waylon Lolatai, like I said, I wasn't the only one he assaulted. And multiple other cases with Waylon Lolatai's other victims, the amount of money paid out by Boulder County residents in taxes and revenue equals into the millions. And we're not even talking about the cost of covering up the crimes committed by Waylon Lolatai by his own department. You get to see how case law should have helped out in this. See, well, I was told to go to police who had committed crimes against me and my friends for years, because Atkinson got special treatment because he's black. That's racism. He got special treatment because he is black. So he got all sorts of help. And look at the other victims. The ones that were in houses got help. The ones who were females got housing so that people would help them. And it was easy. So easy. So much easier than being victimized everywhere that you go. Being painted as a fucking murderer or a rapist or some sort of fucking nasty creep job. Then, of course, the very cops I was trying to turn in over and over again. Waylon Lolatai in the news for the shit that he did. Let's talk about other public officials that were in the news that I spoke out about, wrote about, and told you all about. How about Sarah Nelson? Sexual assault against an inmate. How about Michelle DeCini? Sexual assault against an inmate. How about Michelle Quinn, Sheriff of Garden County, who also took part in the abuse by Scott DaCosta so that Scott DaCosta could cover up the crimes of himself, Leslie Snell, and several deputies. And he was able to use, like I said, they used child molesters to get away with this. Robert Franklin Warnick. After I was assaulted by Scott DaCosta and a deputy, or sorry, not a deputy, a Nebraska State Patrol officer named Lassen. That's when I was assaulted. Almost, well, a little over a month after the assault by Scott DaCosta is when I was assaulted by sexual predator Robert Franklin Warnick, who is a registered sex offender. He is on the Nebraska Sex Offender Registry. And for obvious reasons, I had to be afraid to go to Scott DaCosta. He had repeatedly assisted my predators in getting away. Repeatedly made sure that the deputies that I was trying to turn in were the ones that showed up at situations and refused to do their goddamn jobs. Then I'm never allowed to speak because they call me mentally ill. I'm never allowed to show evidence because they call me mentally ill. I'm never allowed. Never allowed. Help me to turn my predators in. You want to talk about police corruption and how bad it is? Help the victims turn it in, you pieces of shit, or stop bitching. Look how much help Natalie Bollinger got. I had empty promises that people would eventually do that. To this day, you get to see that. Dallas never came through with the pictures that he wanted drawn so that he could get some money, or so that he could get some money to me. He never helped me to turn it into the police with the situation with Molly. Neither did Scott, neither did Jason. And I keep getting told, well, they're going to eventually. Just like Mandi Singer was going to eventually, and Mandy Hughes was going to eventually, and Katie Kate was going to eventually, and Kayla Trujillo was going to eventually. People don't try to understand what I'm going through. They just want to be angry at me for going through it. They want me to be happy no matter what happens to me. They want me to be happy despite the fact that I am separated from all of my loved ones. I don't get to see them. I don't get to see them because I'm not allowed to defend myself anywhere I go. Especially not Boulder, Colorado. My friends, with all of their rhetoric, all of their bullshit about the cops, they helped the police to get away with what they did to me. And then they want to tell me they're my friend, and they tried to help me. No, they didn't. I spoke up about the good things you did for me. All I needed for you to do is fucking verify that you did those things. Was that too much of a fucking hassle? Of course it was. You always had some excuse why you couldn't come forward about that in court. But then when you're angry with me because I recorded conversations where you admitted it and post them on YouTube as evidence, you want to be angry with me because you told me about your personal problems. You shouldn't have been telling me about your personal problems. Every time that I went to you for help, it ended up being 2 to 4 hours of me listening to you talk about yourself. And then you don't know nothing about my situation, but you want to give me advice. Or you want to listen to my predators because they have the drugs you want. God, it's such a fucked up situation. All I wanted was for Natalie Bollinger to tell the fucking truth. I wanted the abuse to fucking stop. Now look, every part of my life is gone. And you want to say it's my fault? No, it's not my fault that people treat me the way that they do. It's not my fault that I have to go to such fucking extremes to try to get help because mandated reporters go out of their way not to look at evidence. And yes, by law, telling them about your abuse as an at-risk adult is grounds for an investigation in every state of the union. Every one of them. No investigations were ever held or made. No attempts were made by any of these agencies that were supposed to help me to get or collect any evidence. With the exception of after they had committed a whole bunch of crimes and knew that I was trying to turn them in, they had no problems. No problems whatsoever with abusing their power and abusing the law. Abusing the fact that they had badges and they had pull. To gain access to evidence of their wrongdoing and to tamper with it. And to have me incarcerated while they did it. While calling me crazy, but they didn't ever send me to a mental hatch. While calling me crazy, they sent me to a prison where I was abused repeatedly. And I had to go to, who? Sarah Nelson. I had to go to Sarah Nelson about the abuse that I was enduring because of people like Michelle Decini. I had to go to Michelle Decini about abuse that I was enduring. Both of those women are now in prison for sexual assault against inmates. How well do you think it went over when I tried to turn in my predators there? Michelle Decini was also smuggling in contraband, such as telephones and marijuana and other drugs. And she's not the only one either. Since I was in that facility, no less than 5 women have been caught either smuggling in contraband or having sex with inmates or sexually assaulting them. My paperwork, the conversations with Mandi Hughes, there's one of my videos is called Region 2, Miss You Bruce, or something like that. If you listen to that, it's got Mandy Singer on there, and she speaks about the situations. She talks about the evidence that she looked at. There's one of the stacks of papers I got, she called the Prison Bible. The Prison Bible. It was a whole stack of complaints that I had attempted to make. Man, you have no idea how fucked up that place is. And I was sent there to cover up the crimes of Scott DaCosta, to allow him 7 months with my electronic evidence to do as he chose. He and his deputies. While he pretended that the crimes committed by his former deputy, Jared Hahn, he tried pretending that Jared Hahn had moved to somewhere else entirely, so could not be pursued for the crimes that he committed. Turns out Jared Hahn is on the city council, and he's one of the people who got to decide whether or not money was apportioned for me to actually have medical while I was in prison, and they denied me all medical. Also, my Medicaid or Medicare, whatever it is that I have, was taken away while I was in prison because I was in prison. And before I could jump through hoops to try to do all the medical stuff that I have to do, I had to jump through hoops to try to get that medical back and get my disability money back. Meanwhile, I got to go to mandated reporters who won't do their jobs, like Nicole Peralta and Jen Beebe and Megan Messigatis. I got to go to people like Leslie Snell, who have already shown that they don't care. They're not going to do their jobs. They're going to make excuses for my predators. What Leslie Snell has done every occasion since then is to be predatory, even if she was being nice. See, in one of those videos, she brought me coffee, but you also get to hear that she was there, just like on multiple phone calls with her. You also get to hear that the evidence does not match what she said in court, nor what the judge said. The judge literally had to reword what I had said entirely. Leslie Snell had to pretend that the only part that was ever actually heard by her was this one little part of a video that is about defending myself and my family. About how everybody's ideas is that I should have gotten violent. People to this day say that I should have killed Leslie Snell and Scott DaCosta for what they did to my little sister and my niece. To this day, people say you should have manned up and killed them. Now, I make video after video about how wrong it is to kill people, including that one. But I have to defend my loved ones. This is not a choice. If it was a choice, they would not be your loved ones. If you could just go, oh, fuck it, I don't care if anybody shoots you. No, you don't fucking care about them. Oh, dude, I got fucking way too much going on. I got to try to get laid this weekend. Fucking, I don't care if you get shot. I don't care if Natalie gets shot. I don't care if Christine Bouhit dies of a fentanyl overdose. I don't care if the cops who assaulted you killed Demetri Shankling or Elijah McClain or a great many others. Polly Olson, that's another government official that I tried telling on about the situation there in Chapel, Nebraska. She was involved in the situation in the aftermath with Natalie Bollinger. She kept wanting to sidestep it by saying she has no involvement with the courts anymore. No, she absolutely does. She's the county clerk. What did she get busted for? Well, it's kind of like the situation with Waylon Lolatai. I tried to turn him in for assaulting me, and he got a big head, and he assaulted a lot of other people and got in trouble. But they still pretend I'm the crazy one. So with Polly Olson, she helped to apportion a whole bunch of money to have me incarcerated and denied actual medical. The money that should have been apportioned for me to have medical, nope, wasn't done. The money that it took to cover up her friends' crimes, by her own admission, the sheriff and these deputies were her friends, and she wouldn't do her job because they were her friends. So she helped to siphon over $100,000 of American taxpayer dollars to have me put in prison. Then Scott DaCosta, while the protocol with the electronic evidence, and this is what shows that they never intended on doing the right thing, never intended on following the law. It was just an intimidation tactic. Scott DaCosta didn't bother telling any of these medical personnel, prison personnel, or jail staff that I was trying to turn him in. No, he lied to all of them, and you can listen to the conversations with Marcia Estrada, who is qualified to diagnose schizophrenia and illusions. What Scott DaCosta claimed was an outright lie. There's a lot of the staff there in the prison who were pissed off that they were lied to about me. Like, you're not schizophrenic. I know. I don't need a shrink to tell me I'm not schizophrenic. I need a shrink to tell the fucking courts I'm not schizophrenic. All of the crimes that I committed knowingly and willingly out of necessity for the preservation of human lives. Polly Olson got busted because after getting a big head, apportioning a bunch of money to help her buddies out with committing felonies and getting away with them, they all worked together to make this happen. Over slander. They were able to do this over slander. They were able to get hospital personnel to do as they chose by, number one, separating me from the evidence and from help, and number two, lying about the situation and about my disabilities to hospital personnel, thereby abusing their power and their position to have their victims harmed yet again. Any of you who are okay with this, I hope you have to go through it next. Instead of telling me you're fucking sorry, why don't you try showing the world what I've gone through? Why don't you try sharing it? You got those posts where there's that teacher saying, hey, why don't you see how many shares that you can get on this to show my kids how dangerous Facebook can be, how quickly you can share it. Or maybe your grandma's 90th birthday. My grandma doesn't believe she can get 10,000 likes and shares, and you look on there and it's got 1.5 million likes and shares. That's what America cares about, right? They don't care about actual human rights. Oh, that lady is almost 98. Let's prove this. Let's prove that we already know. Problem is that the courts and the police is not present, does not exist when it's someone like me. Oh, poor Johnny Depp. But who cares about Sean Schwartz? Poor Amber Heard. Poor Chris Rock. Poor Jada Pinkett Smith. Poor Will Smith. Oh, Will Smith can't go to the Academy Awards now. Who gives a fuck? Between Smith and Natalie Bollinger got shot in the head. Between Jada Pinkett Smith and Stephen McMillian got his neck broke. Between Chris Rock and Brian Farmer got stabbed in the head. Between Amber Heard and Christine Buhit. Christine Buhit died of a fentanyl overdose. go ahead and ask me who I care about. And there's a whole bunch of the living who are looking towards exactly that same end. Because they're out here on the streets where you don't care about them. They're not human to you. Christine Buhit drowned out her pain with drugs. And then when they finally gave her a place where she could recover from the abuse, she was so addicted, she'd let people stay at her house in exchange for the drugs she was addicted to. We've all seen it 100 times out here on the streets, but to you guys in houses that never had to experience it, it's mythology. And you got that cousin, or maybe even that brother or sister, and you say, oh, well, he chooses to be homeless. He chooses to be homeless. He doesn't want to be a part of our family. You know, most of our predators have a favorite. Yeah. That's right. One girl I know, she was raped by her dad to the point that she was infertile, and he eventually not only went to prison, he fessed up to it. I mean, I want you to imagine that. You get so fucked up on meth, and you damage your daughter's organs. Despite all of that, her sister still won't talk to her. Still claims, oh, well, if Dad was going to do that, he would have done it to me too, and he didn't. That's because Daddy had a favorite. I know another girl that was being molested by her dad, and she was the older of two sisters. She was also the prettier of the two, and her dad was always telling her that. So he never molested the younger of the two. Well, then the older of the two, and one of the ones who went anorexic, she's one of the ones that beefed up a lot. Got real depressed, real angry, and just beat things up. Got really big. Cut her hair all butch and turned into a man-hater, and yeah, Dad didn't want to play with her after that. She wasn't the pretty one anymore. And that's when he went for the younger of the two. There's a lot of Ted Bollingers in the world. They're not all named Ted Bollinger. Some of them are named Michael Albert. Some of them are named Mark Richmond. I encourage anybody watching this video to go back and watch it from the beginning and listen to the whole thing. Good to be rid of you. Thanks for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper and no victim left behind.